Is it uncomfortable to talk about this? Because I actually think this is the main issue.
I'm basically just gonna sleep in the back of the wagon. Not a good day for me today. Not a good day. Shower and work out at the gym.
This is a big reason why I've not got married yet. I would never be able to do what I do now with a good conscience or with someone that is nagging me to get home every night.
And I don't know if I should say all this stuff, but I'm gonna say it anyway and see what happens.
This is the problem, right? Because you're making decisions right now in the business based upon this relationship. Like, we got to figure out which one we're going to fight for.
Living a life where we're constantly having to think about the budget and, oh, I want to get my hair cut. Can we afford to get the haircut? You know, oh, I want to get this nice food. Oh, but we can't afford to get the nice food. You know, I don't, that's just not a life that I want to live. Got a nice cruise ship. One day I'll end up on one of those. One day.
She doesn't want to even talk about it. It's like, no, you will provide for the kids. We will have a bigger house.
She wants to live this lifestyle. Yeah. I feel really bad saying this. I don't know if I could say all this, but
Then what happens is that when the personal stuff goes south, the business does too.
it cost me $1,000 yesterday.
Honestly, the business stuff, you can just kick it all, punt it all on, because that part needs to be figured out.
Our goals are just not completely aligned at the moment, and I'm thinking I'm gonna have to make a change. The relationship?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely have that chat.
60% of businesses will fail in their first 3 years. I'm Mike Andes, and I'm on a mission to fix this on this season of Business Bootcamp.
With you, the sun is shining 24/7. 'Cause when we're together, it feels like we're in heaven. If it will get dark, you'll be my million stars. I know I can lean on you. Ooh, you catch me like a leaf falling from a tree. If I'll be a shooting star, you make a wish. No, I don't fake this kind of feeling, never felt so real. My heart is on the table 'cause you're my everything.
Yeah. So I just wanted to quickly, because I know this is the start of the business boot camp. It's day one. I'm 22. I have 3 kids and a wife, and I've been trying this employee route for the longest time. Like, I've tried for 3 years pretty consistently, and then before that kind of had people on and off, but I just could not make it work. Every season I would try, and in every season, that's another lawnmower guy. See, over here we wave to everybody. I hear that in America it's a little bit funny between people. Over here we pretty much just wave to everybody if you see them, so it's pretty good. What I was saying anyway, that I tried for like 3 seasons to make employees work, and I just couldn't do it. You know, I tried different things, tried the pay for performance, tried different types of bonuses. You know, so at first I wanted to build a business with employees so that I could bring employees in, provide a good place to work, pay them more than everyone else. But I really struggled, you know, to just get them to produce enough work. Because I can go out there and produce, you know, 600 to 900 in a day, but then they were struggling to get over like 500. Below 550, I just was not making money. I just was losing money too consistently. So every week it'll cost me $200 or $300 to have them work for me. My idea.
Now walk me through that a little bit, because like I know where you're at, the labor's a little more expensive, right? Because like in our market, for example, 500 per day, 600 per day, you can make money on that. Walk me through kind of what your wage structure looks like there in New Zealand.
So our minimum wage is like 22, like just under 22. But for someone to actually work in this industry that's going to be half decent, it needs to be like sort of late 20s, you know? So I was paying 27, 28. And then once you pay, you know, all taxes and whatever else on top of that, it works out to be about 13% on top of their 28.
So what are you charging per hour? Because like I like to have that number. Well, I'm giving someone on base pay, usually 25% or less of what I'm charging the customer. But what can you reasonably get away with charging per hour to the customer?
Well, that's the tough part, because for myself, it's like I charge like $100, basically $100 an hour, but then I'll usually make 120 an hour on the job. But then the issue came in is when
someone else is working, they're only producing like $60, $70 an hour. And that's where it kind of didn't work. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like, you know, if they're just earning 60 and you're paying them 30, and then there's waste in terms of, you know, driving and all the rest of it, like literally more than half your revenue is going out the door to, you know, the variable cost of labor, and it makes no room for overhead, other expenses, and then obviously, you know, having a profit.
But I've got to the point now where I'm closing in on $100,000 in debt. That's a mixture of like equipment debt, just having to use the money to get by, credit cards, and then taxes not getting paid, you know, and then credit with suppliers and stuff that's just built up to that point. And so now I had to do a quick basically change the business model. So I switched to subcontractors.
You know, I know it's only been a while since you've been doing the subcontracting. How has it been working out so far though?
Yeah, it's been okay. Like, well, it's been good because I don't have the financial stress of everything. So like, it just feels a lot easier because I just have to advise him on stuff basically.
So you do one crew with the actual work, the other stuff you sold out to him, and then you're basically just probably doing that in the evening, the scheduling, routing, invoicing, things like that.
Yeah, that's right.
And so does he have a brand that you're paying, like as a subcontractor, or is he just a person? Like, how does that work over there? Like over here, we have what we call a 1099. What is it over there for you?
Well, he's set up as a sole trader. I don't know if you guys have it there, but yeah, he does his own taxes and everything like that. So he'll invoice me and then I'll pay the invoice.
Okay.
The stress of the financial side was quite big. Like, I didn't really realize it until sort of once I had made the switch. I was like, wow, this is so easy, you know? Like, the problems that would come up are the same problems, but I don't have that financial thing attached to it. And so now the problem seems so small.
The advantage of the subcontractor is honestly that you're literally from day one, they're going to get revenue, right? You could literally go to someone working their job, making, let's call it 25 or 30 bucks an hour, and say, hey, look, I'm going to give you 75% of this route. And by the way, this route, I can tell you exactly how much it makes, right? Last month, we made $8,000 on this route. I'm going to give you 75%. You're going to make $6,000 a month. You don't need to do any scheduling, any invoicing. You literally just need to go take your truck and go mow these yards. That's a lot of value to them. And now you can offer, 25% cut because you literally have it's a cookie cutter, right? You literally have that there. And if you do the subcontracting model, you still own the customers, right? So in that case, you might not even sell them anything. You say, hey, look, you literally just come do the work. You're gonna make $6,000 a month and I'll do everything on the back end for you. That's very appealing to the average worker that might be taking home $4,000 a month right now and wants the autonomy of doing the jobs themselves. And then you take that $2,000 cut off the top to be able to manage them and make sure the quality is there, invoice, do all the stuff that they can't do because they're not good at business, right?
I'm super happy about it so far. This is working out really well. And yeah, this is hopefully what I do long term and will turn things around for us basically. Just finished up this lawn. Rain's coming in again. It's been on and off the last few days. Yesterday evening was quite bad, but I'm just hoping it kind of holds off a little bit and just like rain every now and then is all right. It works out fine, but once we start getting consistent rain like all day, boy, that starts to get hard. And if I continue on the path that I'm on, I will go bankrupt and I will lose everything.
You're going to get a shop space that's going to put more pressure on the relationship as a way to escape the relationship. And by doing that, it's putting more pressure on the business. That's when both fail.
Because I'm basically going to almost pretty much live in it or have it as a living quarters.
I guess.
Yeah, but you're trying to run away from it. You're trying to run away from it instead of confronting it, right?
Because it's kind of coming to the end where like I can't do this for much longer. And I feel like I've wasted 5 years of my life.
100%. You can't stay here. You can't stay here.
So today I've got a little bit of a few random things. A couple of lawns, a couple of quotes, a couple of gardens, a couple of hedges.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray.
Yeah, I did all the quote for it last night. Should hopefully take 25 minutes, half an hour. I mean, the first mow will probably take 35 minutes just while I get used to the lawn.
On, far beneath, on, far beneath, on, fire and water meet, watching me think everything clean.
There we go. So I managed to smash that. I was expecting sort of like 35 minutes for the first mow, and it took me 27, which is perfect because that means I could most likely get it down to about 20 minutes, $45 mow. I always try and do $2 a minute. As long as I'm hitting that number, then I'm golden.
Down to the river.
Right, if you guys want to see something funny, check this out. It's all in the name of efficiency. You just get out of the window here. You guys are probably thinking I'm an absolute fool, but you'll see in just a second why exactly I gotta do that. So, over here, got all this waste, and I can throw it straight into the trailer there, which is nice and easy. So I mow this property, but the waste isn't even from this property. So if we come up here, here's the waste pile, and then further up there's even more. So all the waste is actually from that house up there, and the alternative is either dragging it down to the van and parking in the neighbouring driveway, or dragging it up a hill about 100 meters branch by branch to my trailer. So I'm gonna take that one any day.
Initially, I was thinking, okay, I'll give them 60 lawns, which is basically like half a route almost, or like 60% of a route, and then I'll like build it up from there, you know? So they start with something, I thought minimum like $1,500 a week, and then build them up to $2,500 a week, hopefully.
I think it's a good model too, because like, instead of trying to get them a full route, you give them one that's say 60, 70% full. It's up to them to kind of go get the door hangers or get the neighbors, for example, because it is going to help them, and they will fill the route for themselves and potentially go beyond capacity because they just want to make more money, and they don't have to take the downside of having to do more invoicing, more scheduling, more routing. It kind of falls back on you, right? So I think I like that strategy. And if you think 60% full is say 40, 50, 60 lawns, and that's enough for them to leave their job, right? Because that's probably the target demographic you're going to go after. That starts to look pretty interesting. It really just comes down to how fast does it take you to sell 50, 60 lawns, right? And so the perfecting of that model is the important part. You getting to know your customer acquisition cost. Okay, if I need 50 lawns and my customer acquisition cost is $100, I know I have to put $5,000 into marketing. I get my 50 clients. There's my first route, right? So it just simply will come down to whenever you're doing subcontracting in a model that's high volume like this, it simply comes down to, do you know your customer acquisition cost? Can you get to people through the funnel? Because the rate at which you grow, and whether you do 3 or 1 route this year, is going to come down to simply how many leads are you getting in and how well do you sell them.
Hey, check out my nice clean van. I did my once in a blue moon, once in a year clean. It's not that clean, I just vacuumed out all of the debris and whatever else and cleaned out all the rubbish. Well, today I'm gonna go and do a quick dump run, and then I'll go and do some gardening and all that I didn't get done yesterday because of having to be at home. Our middle child, he's hurt his foot, and so he's going to have to go into the hospital today. We took him to A&E and they checked his foot and there's nothing wrong, but he's got like a fever and a high heart rate and that sort of thing. So we're going to take him to hospital because they want to do some tests and whatever. They think it might be an infection or something. I'll take him in shortly once the wife comes back. But for now, I'm looking after this little one. Hey, look. So it means no work for me at the moment unless they discharge him early and then I can shoot out, but otherwise I think I'll just take my laptop and do a little bit of stuff there while I can. But hopefully today I can smash it out, and then I'll work the weekend as well, try and just do a bit of a catch up, because I lost, in potential revenue about $1,000 by having yesterday off, but instead I've had to push that off. But it is what it is. It happens. I've been speaking with a commercial, commercial real estate agent, and I want to get a place to separate personal and work, because my personal life has been so up and down. And so what I really want to do is separate that, to have a separate space for work and all that, and try and keep it separate. So no matter what happens in my personal life, I can still have the business ticking along well, or not get affected as much. So I'm talking about that, and I was gonna pull the trigger on a unit, but I thought maybe I'll wait a couple of days, talk to Mike, see what he thinks, see if he has a different idea, because it is going to cost a lot of money. Like, it's a day's worth of work a week to pay for this workshop, so I will be really tight. I'll have to be on the game with the income to make sure that I'm not spending, overspending.
I've been looking at like commercial units, I guess.
Yeah, so you've been looking at kind of getting some space for the trucks, the shop space, etc.
Yeah, because just trying to separate the work and personal life kind of thing.
Now, do you, so because you're still doing a route right now, right? So that's why you would need that. If in the case that you would not be doing any work and you just more or less be doing the contracting, would you need that shop space?
Well, if it was a mixture of like potentially a place to stay, like a place to live at.
So kind of like looking for a place where you can have a shop for now, but then down the road, maybe it's more of an office environment, but then have a place to live as well.
Yeah. So I would get a workshop with a little office in it, basically, office space.
Yeah, I think it's a good move, right? Like, I think the big thing to keep in mind, if the goal is, in 3-4 years for you not to be actually doing the work, but just be doing subcontracting, just keep that in mind when it comes to the type of land you're buying. If it's a big shop space, it's like, well, what are we going to use that for when you're not actually doing the work anymore, right? Because ideally, especially with subcontractors, they got to be using their own tools, their own truck, etc. Like, ideally, you don't need to store any of that. It shouldn't be where they have to like come to you and things. I think if this really goes well, though, that being said, if you get 5, 10, 15 of these guys operating for you, it makes a lot of sense to have a shop space where you can train them. Right? It's like, hey, we do daily calls, and then every month we meet up at the shop and we do some training. We go over stuff. We look at each other's equipment. We share ideas, things like that. That becomes really valuable too down the road, right? So I think maybe at the beginning when you're still in the field with the one, setup, it looks like, hey, I store my stuff there. This is like more of a shop space. It'll probably evolve more into an office space if you go the way of subcontracting, but then also a great place to probably train down the road if you're going to do, 5, 10, 15 of these guys locally. Yeah. So I think it really just comes down to, do you need to hold your breath for a bit to be able to get some cash underneath your belt? But is there a personal situation or personal circumstance that you kind of feel like you need a spot right now?
Yeah, kind of.
I would probably, in your shoes, like, let me ask this question. Does getting the shop and the new house stuff, does that help the relationship? Is that kind of the motive behind it?
Nah, I guess not.
I just wanted to open up a little bit here because I think that out of everything going on in the business currently in my life, I think that this is the one that might hit home a little bit more with other people. And it's not actually business related directly. It's more about the personal side of my life. I've had kind of a lot of issues recently, like marital issues, and like throughout the years, it's kind of showing itself a little bit here and there, but it's kind of really come to a head, and it's kind of forcing me to make a decision about what I want to do going forward. Overall, I think my wife and I, we have maybe 2 different goals in life. Like she wants, like, family is really important to her. She just wants to spend time with us all the time. But then she also wants the lifestyle that money can provide, but she's not willing yet to make the sacrifices that are necessary. So something as simple as yesterday, so our son was, had to go to the doctors, right, which is fine. Now, one of our children went into kindy, and I don't know if I should say all this stuff, but I'm gonna say it anyway and see what happens. So, one of our kids were in kindy. Our son needed to go to the A&E, and she didn't want to take our youngest, which is just over a year. She didn't want to take him because it's a little bit of a hassle, right? Having a baby, and the doctors, like, I understand it's hard. For a few hours, they're going to be crying or whatever. It's a little bit hard. But if I have to stay home for a day and look after him, it cost me $1,000 yesterday. Yesterday's jobs I have to get done today, and I had already booked out my Saturday and Sunday. And so I'm sitting here, $100,000 in debt. I'm wanting to make the money to do these things and help people and all that. But then her little bit of discomfort of having a baby in the in the doctor's room for a couple hours was worth to her was worth making me stay home and losing $1,000. So we're just not aligned, you know. So like I tried to tell her, like, look, I don't know, like, can you do this? Can you find another babysitter? Can you do this? Like, is it really going to be that bad just to have him there? Like, you put him in a pushchair and go to sleep. But she just didn't want to do any of it, so I had to stay home. And that's just been a recurring thing throughout the years. And then we've moved cities a bunch of times, and we get nicer houses and we get nicer stuff. She wants to live this lifestyle. Yeah, I feel really bad saying this. I don't know if I can say all this, but I say all this to say our goals are just not completely aligned at the moment, and I'm thinking I'm gonna have to make a change, because otherwise I will never achieve the goals in life that I have set out for myself, and I think that I will be unhappy if I continue this way, you know. So yeah, tripping up on my words because I'm not sure if I want to say all of this, but it's there, I guess.
Is it uncomfortable to talk about this? Because I actually think this is the main issue.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk about it, because at first I was a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm like, I know this will help people more than whatever else that every other, you know.
Well, this is the problem, right? Because you're making decisions right now in the business based upon this relationship. Obviously, I don't want to, you know, probe in your personal life, but like it's a matter of like these things are intertwined, right? So like you will have to figure that part out before, in my opinion, you start like, okay, we're getting a shop space, we're growing, expanding. Like you gotta figure out which one you're gonna focus your time and energy on. And it feels to me like if you're trying to figure out the relationship thing and the personal side, going out and getting a shop and putting more financial pressure on yourself, along with the fact that now you're getting into new business ventures and you're going to be growing, expanding, having subcontractors, opening yourself up to more liability, getting more trucks and equipment. Like if you're going to do both of the same thing, that could be really detrimental, because it could potentially happen where both of them fail because you just overextend yourself. So it could be like, hey, I'm going to take a year. I'm going to keep doing what we're doing now, where it's like, hey, I have my setup, my equipment I can be really efficient on, really profitable on. I'm going to have this other route that I'm like kind of testing out the waters with the subcontractor. I can make extra money by having those in the, you know, doing that work in the evening. Get some money underneath your belt. So that way, when you do, you know, hopefully in a year or two, there's a little more extra cash that will help with the relationship side, as well as potentially there's quote unquote money in the bank in the relationship, to where now you going and buying a shop, you going and growing the business doesn't create resentment or, you know, create more issues.
But the message behind all of this is just that your personal life affects your business far more than you would think. And so we really need to try and make sure that all areas in our life are aligned and they work so that you can achieve what you want in life. Oh boy, tell you what, it's super hot today. We've been having a lot of rain and not a whole lot of sun, and so it's growing. It just makes the work take a little bit longer, just taking more grass, but it's good. So that's that one all done. Now I'm going to head over to the second job, which is property cleanup for the new owners that are moving in, I think like tomorrow or the next day. So I'll get the lawn mowed, get the gardens all weeded and tidied up, and just have it nice and ready for the new owners. Here we are. This is it. Nice and long. As normal, the videos never do it justice, but it's not too bad. Certainly had worse. Sweet. This will actually be relatively easy. Won't take me very long at all. Take me about an hour, and then I'll get into our regular lawns and that sort of thing. I'm going to have to chat tonight to the subcontractor in Hamilton. So he's got the young fella, but they're not getting through enough work, you know, which is okay for me. You know, it doesn't really bother me. But he's not making any money, and if he keeps doing that, then he's going to run out of money pretty quick. So I just want to inform him of like how much he's actually making when he goes out, because like yesterday, for example, they had him and the young fella, they did 8 hours together, they turned over $400, and he's paying the guy $20 an hour. So like $160 gone straight away, and then so he's left with what, $240, and then GST and everything that's all on top of it. He probably made, you know, and then the costs for the day, which is about $50 a day. So it's not, you know, it's not a lot of costs, but still, he probably made like $80 yesterday, maybe. You know, so he probably made $10 an hour. So I just need him to understand where the threshold is. You know, like he needs to make over a certain amount for it to be worth anything. You know, otherwise he might as well, I don't know, either work on his own or he's got to figure it out. Let's figure out something anyway. Cool, that's this one done. Got all the edges tidied up, all the weeds tidied through there. Tried to somewhat get some lines in, but I had to go over it 3 times, so it's always a little bit tough. Got this sorted. I still got a leaf blow through here a little bit, so mind the bark. And then also sorted all the weeds that were along the back there, all cleared out. Edges and lawn were nice and tidy. See, I was complaining about the sun just a couple hours ago, and now, I'm sure you can see behind me, now it is pouring. Beautiful, beautiful odd summer. I mean, I tell you what, right now I'm really happy about this rain because it feels really good. But we'll see, if it sticks around like this for the next couple of hours, I might not be so happy and by the end of the day. I was making a video the other day talking about my relationship with my wife. I was making it and I wasn't sure if I was gonna send it in, and because I was like, man, I don't know if I want to talk about that. I don't know if it's even the right platform to be talking about it on. But then, funny enough, just this morning, Mike actually posted the video from the conference where he starts talking about relationships and how he believes that it actually you know, that's a huge reason why a lot of small businesses fail. And I feel like I've wasted 5 years of my life just not really achieving any of that, you know, and just ultimately going backwards. And if I continue on the path that I'm on, I will go bankrupt and I will lose everything, you know. I'm thinking of getting a commercial unit and I'll live in there and I'll just grind, you know. I'll do what I've always wanted to do, because if it was up to me when I was young, I would have stayed home and I would have built the business to a stable position before moving out of home. And I don't want this to sound bad about her, because she's a lovely person and I don't want this to sound bad. It's just that we have 2 different goals, we have 2 different understandings of life. Like,
what's that shop space going to do for you? Right now, it's a personal escape, right? It's a place where you can go work, you can have separation between personal life and work, etc. Like, if there's no relationship, why do we need that space, right? This is the thing, Tijuana. Like, I don't know your relationship status and all that stuff, don't care. But just from a numbers standpoint, it's like when someone has better financials, sometimes that fixes the relationship issues, right?
Yeah.
And if someone is seeing you work in crazy amount of hours and now they have resentment towards it, like you're spending time away from them, the fact doesn't matter. Like, I don't know your relationship, so I could be completely wrong, but sometimes people resent and they hate it, but it's like, it's because they love you and they just want to spend time with you, and now they hate the business. And then it's like, well, they're against me. It's like, no, they actually want to be with you more. And so it might be a matter of just like really figuring out, is this relationship worth fighting for? Is it something that you're going to want to spend time and energy on? Because if you're going to go buy a shop space to escape it, and that's going to hurt the business by having this massive financial risk, and it's going to hurt the relationship, like, we got to figure out which one we're going to fight for, right? And I think, you know, being really open and honest about where your goals are at and what you're doing in the business might be helpful, but like you might have to give up on some of the, like, hey, I'm going to work all night on this certain thing.
So yeah, I think I've tried for the last 5 years to get on the same page, but she just doesn't have the same understanding of what I want and how the things that she does or we do as a family affects the business. So like something as simple as like my son going to the hospital and having to be there for 3 days, that actually cost me like $2,000 being off work. And to her, it doesn't register, you know. It's just like, well, the kids are sick, you need to come and look after the kids. There's other options that don't cost us $2,000, especially when we're sitting here with $100,000 in debt and me just getting further and further from the goals and the life that I want.
Does she know all about the finances, like how much the business makes in revenue, cost of rent, how much in debt you are? Does she know all of that?
I mean, if you asked her, I would say no. I've said it, but it's probably I haven't explained it in a way that she understands it, you know? Maybe it was a time where we were probably upset at each other and I'm like, this, but it's not really explaining it properly, right?
So I would look at this the same way with employees, and that is like, if they don't have the information, I can't expect them to think like me, right? Like if I'm expecting them, like we just did move into an office that's not that great in terms of like, you know, facilities for restrooms, and it's not pleasant for them. They're going to be packed in there. But the reason that the majority of them voted for that spot is because they know it was half the cost for the business. And they see them, and the only reason they make that decision is because they see the numbers every month and they know we're not making a bunch of money. And so I can't expect them to make decisions in the best interest of the business without sharing all the information. And so the same thing is true in a relationship. And the reason I kind of pinpointed this and I saw this is because I grew up that way, right? One side of the partnership doesn't hear anything about the money. They want to provide, they want to do more, and the other person resents them for doing that. But on the flip side, they haven't shared any information.
Right.
And so like she is of course going to be that way, especially with kids. Like it's instinctual that she wants to provide for them, give them the best. But she doesn't know about debts, loans, how much you have to make just to get by, and that pressure that's putting on you. Like I almost have to like, there's nothing that we can say as a leader when the people that are following us don't have the information that we expect them to have, you know? And especially if it's being brought up in anger, now she begins to like resent it. She doesn't want to even talk about it. It's like, no, you will provide for the kids. We will have a bigger house, because like it becomes a point of contention versus, hey, we're on the same team here. We're fighting the same direction. And both of you, by the way, want the same thing. She loves you and wants you to be with the kids. Like if she hated your guts, she wouldn't care about you working. She's like, please get out of here. Right.
Yeah.
And then you, on the other hand, you feel bad as a father because you want to be that, but you also want to provide, right? You both just have to communicate. Like if she does not know the finances, you cannot expect her to be able to sacrifice what she wants for you as a father because of the finances, because she has no idea. Like my suggestion is her literally watch all of this, and then you have a conversation about the finances and like how much do you owe? How much money do you need to make every month just to break even? Where are we in the hole right now? Do I need to work more so we can sustain the current standard of living? Or do I work less, but we've got to now cut costs? Right?
Yeah, I'll definitely have that chat. I guess I can't say what it's going to go like until I actually have it.
Like everyone's afraid of these conversations, right? But like, honestly, it doesn't matter whether it's parenting, churches, employees with businesses. Like this level of leadership is not easy to be open and transparent about things. But I can guarantee you, like there's enough commonality between the two of you that you want to stay at least somewhat together, right? And I don't know all that, so I don't care about it. But like, there's at least something. Whether the kids, you wanting to be a good father, her wanting to be a good mom, like there's some commonalities here, right? And if the business is going to work, this has to be figured out. And in my opinion, unless like this is a toxic relationship that you don't want to have anything to do with, if there's something that you want to work towards and strive towards, that needs to be figured out first. Because a positive supporting spouse or partner is going to be the best thing for your business. But you can only expect her to ever get there by you sharing everything about the finances, how much you owe, and not from a point of like, told you so, look at how bad this is, and that's why I'm working so hard. That's not it. It's like, look, I want what you're asking for. And in order for me to have peace of mind and be a good dad, like I can't have this burden of like not being a good provider for the kids and for you, right?
So I think it's necessary, and I think it's necessary for our relationship too, because I need to get somewhere in life. Otherwise, I'm constantly going to feel like, which this could be an excuse, you know, and people could, you know, kind of look down on me for this, but I'll constantly feel like she's holding me back, you know, just because we just don't align completely. So she likes the idea of the life that I can provide once I'm there, but doesn't quite understand what it takes and what I have to do to actually get there. And so I think this is a necessary step I have to take in life to achieve what I want to achieve. This place is so good. This is our dump. It's kind of like a permaculture type thing, and so we can just come and drop all of our grass clippings and they build it up and start planting on it, which is super cool. And fortunately enough for us, it's free, so I don't have to pay for dumping of grass. I still have to pay to dump like garden waste and other types of green waste, but the grass clippings are free. Cool, just finished up the first job, which is the hedge trimming, coming up on lunchtime. So that hedge along there, trimmed it like, you know, sides and top. Same with that one along there. And then if we continue, this one, like in behind, you can't really see it. It's kind of tucked in behind the others, but, and then this hedge along here, same thing, sides and top. This is a good start to the day. I think I'm, yeah, a touch ahead of time, maybe about half an hour to an hour ahead of time, so that's good. I could hopefully get an extra job done at the end of the day. And that one. Time to get some pies and an energy drink. Yeah. Not a good day for me today. Not a good day. It's been pretty tough. It's been pretty tough lately, the last few months. Just with everything going on in the personal side of things. You know, my marriage and whatever else, it's been getting pretty tough. Been finding it a little bit hard lately because like my kind of rhythm's all out and I'm like struggling to get up in the morning when I want to be. So like instead of getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, I'm now getting up at like 8 o'clock, and I'm not starting work until like 9, 10 o'clock. And just haven't been able to rely on myself lately, and so I'm really just trying to sort myself out, just so that I can have things just stable again, and that I'm the only one that'll fix it and that sort of thing. Yeah, but it's tough. I'm just trying to get back to the stage where I can rely on myself again, you know? Because it's kind of coming to the end where like I can't do this for much longer. Like we're $100,000 in debt and we're just continuously going backwards over the last 5 years. And that's how we ended up here. And if it carries on like this for half a year to a year, I think it'll get to the point where I can't come back from it. So it'll become unsustainable. So just gonna have to do it. Gonna have to do it, see what happens. Hopefully things turn around and I'll just put my head down and work with no outside influence, hopefully. We'll see. We'll get it done.
I guess the reason why I felt like I had to get this separate space is because what I've been doing for the last 5 years hasn't been working. And so I'm like, if I stayed, I just don't know that I would be able to produce enough income consistently, because what happens is like I need to produce enough money, a lot of money, but then something usually happens where I end up producing less, and then over the sort of years I've got to this point where I'm almost at the end where I don't know if I could go for much longer, where I end up going backwards, if that makes sense.
I feel like though you're looking for change when that change is not going to impact the business. So where you put your trucks and equipment at the end of the day, does not affect how many customers you have, the prices you can charge them. To the customer, it does not matter. So if you've been doing what you've been doing for 5 years and now you're like, okay, I'm not going to do the employee thing. You've been like running your head up against a wall trying to do that. Now the strategic move of switching to subcontracting makes a lot of sense because that could impact the business because now you can scale it without having the issues you've been having for the past 5 years. It's simply just changed for you personally. And there's definitely value to that. And if someone's going through some things personally, sometimes a reset in like where they're at, where their shop space is, their living quarters, that can sometimes help reset them. But ultimately, it's not going to change the business. This is the thing to focus on, not getting more shop space. More shop space is going to add overhead, create more stress in the relationship, and take away the revenue that you need right now to go out and get more customers so you can get more people on the subcontracting model.
Yeah. Okay. But I guess if we look at it that way, is how would I then be able, like, because being at home is sort of where the problems arise. Like, because when I work at home, so last night's an example. It wasn't a bad one, but for example, if like I was supposed to be doing computer work last night, but then we were addressing a problem last night and I ended up doing nothing, you know? Mm-hmm. So I guess my thought of the office space was like, I could go there with no distractions, no potential, you know, I could just work more. That's all I kind of thought. It's like, I could go there in the morning, do whatever I need to do, go do the lawns and stuff, then go straight back there, keep working, and then maybe come back and sleep. Or if our relationship didn't work, then I would just sleep there. So it was less a case of like change for the business, but it was like a change, I guess.
Yeah, but you're trying to run away from it. You're trying to run away from it instead of confronting it, right? So like the question that has to be had, and I can cut this part out if you want, like you need to figure out, do you want this relationship or not? Like this is what's going to happen. You're going to get a shop space that's going to put more pressure on the relationship as a way to escape the relationship. And by doing that, it's putting more pressure on the business. That's when both fail, right? Now you just got a place where now you're going to escape away from the relationship when things are bad. That's not going to look good for a relationship. And at the same time, you just did something that's going to put the business in a bad spot and both fail, right? And like, it's like the talk I had last week, like relationship issues is the number one reason why businesses fail. This is why, because we start making decisions based upon, business decisions based upon the personal issues, that the personal issues are weighed down by the fact that business, we're spending all our time and energy into that, right? So like, in my opinion, for you personally, it's got to be, is this relationship worth fighting for, right? Because otherwise you're going to start making bad business decisions based upon a relationship that's going to actually be hurt by the decisions you make for the business.
Because even before this problem we're having now, I have even brought it up to her, like, look, I almost need to just leave for 6 months and fix this so then I can come back and our financials are okay. But yeah.
I think like when you tell her that, this is what she's hearing. She hears, it is more important to me that I make money and I'm willing to leave you for 6 months in order to go get money. That's what they hear, right? Yeah. And in your mind, like, like I want to have a better life for us and like I need to be more comfortable and I'm stressed out all the time. But that's not what she hears.
She's got this beautiful view. Our mount there. It'd be a whole lot nicer when the water's up. We've got like no water at the moment. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm pretty much going to set a task once a week. Once a week do a business changing task. So the first one is going to be to do credit cards on file and make that a must. Because over the last 5 years I've had a ton of problems with cash flow and there's so many overdue payments. Like there's probably $3,000 or $4,000 of overdue payments and like 9,000 in total that's due. So I'll switch to credit card on file, make that a must. I might lose 10-15% of my customers, but chances are they're going to be the customers that are consistently paying late and I'm always chasing them up and that sort of thing. And then after that it'll be the close ratio, sorting out a way to keep track of all of that, just so I know, because at the moment I'm running off feeling. I'm like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm about 60% closing. I don't really know, I'm just making it up. And then the attrition, how many people are leaving, see if I can get those 3 things done and then maintain it. Because I'm very good at getting things done, but then it's the maintenance and keeping on top of it that I'm a little bit slack on. But check it out, we got to the mount and over there. Got a nice cruise ship. One day I'll end up on one of those. One day.
Does she feel financial pressure, or does she simply want you home and more time?
Just wants me home. Yeah. She just doesn't, I guess doesn't understand the financial side of it. Like I could say things to her like, hey, I'm in debt, say 50,000. And then a month later, hey, I'm in debt now, like 60,000. But it doesn't register, I guess, like, because everything's on my shoulders, right? Like I deal with all the financials, whatever. So I just don't know that she feels the same stress or whatever.
If I have debt and I don't have money, I would literally just want to work 24/7, and I'd rather die trying to get out of it. Like that's just how I am, partly because the way I was raised and I saw what debt and not having money did to my family, right? So that's how I'm wired. There's other people that didn't have that raising, and so money to them is like, who cares? Like, I just need you around. I need time with you. That's much more important. So might be the conversation you have with her, and I don't know if you already have, and that is, hey, look, this is how I'm feeling. I literally lose my mind because I feel like I'm not providing for the family. I feel like I'm never gonna get out of this. I feel like we're losing ground. And if you wanna have more time with me, we're gonna have to cut expenses in order to be able to make it where I don't have to work as much. And that might mean the opposite of getting shop space. It's like, hey, this is what we need to make every month. Here's how many hours currently I have to work to cover these expenses. And here's the debt payments that we need to cover as well. Is there a way that we can cut expenses so I don't have to work this many hours? I can bring it down to this amount and we can be together more. I can spend the time with you and the kids. But in order to do that, we've got to cut because we're going negative here. And this is like, it's stressing me out. I'm not being what I want to be for you and the kids because I'm stressed out of my mind over finances. I can't keep doing this. Like, it's going to drive me crazy. And I think if she loves you, and that's a totally different conversation, but like, if she loves you, she's going to be like, hey, I don't want him stressed out of his mind. I don't want him to feel like a failure as a provider for the family. So either we got to cut costs so he can be with us, or B, I've got to let him go for a while so that he can get back to where he feels like he's treading water.
Yeah, I guess the tough part with that is like, there's actually not a ton to cut anyway.
So like, when I grew up, we did not have very many rooms. And my dad and mom would put a curtain down the middle of their room. They have a bed on one side and his office on the other, right? All of us kids would be in one other room, right? And we did that through until I was like probably 7, 8, 9. Right? Where all three of us, one room, 3 bunk beds. It was great. Right?
Yeah.
But we did that because we couldn't afford it. Right? Yeah. And the question is, if she wants more time with you, and to get that, you have to work less, therefore make less money. There has to be like, look, honey, if this is what we want to do together and it's have more time, I can't be able to make as much revenue. And if we're not gonna make as much revenue, we've got to cut from somewhere. And are we willing to take a year or two where the kids are still young and can be in the same room? Can we do this for a year or two to get back up on our feet?
Yeah. Personal life definitely affects your business a lot. You don't really think it does, or you don't really take it into consideration, but it truly does. It affects you a lot. Even if it's just emotionally, like your relationship's not good at home, so emotionally you're a bit out, then you show up a little bit worse at work. So that's all I want to say.
The amount of businesses that close because a spouse is not on board during the process of the business growing is staggering.
It sounds to me like you want to make it work. Like, is that overarching what you want personally?
The relationship?
Yeah. You don't know?
I believe it was no. Because there's another issue that I can't say here that's bigger than almost all of that,
Got it.
Like, if it was just that, then yes, I would just do it. But it's that.
You got to have a conversation, and you got to figure out if it's a yes or no. You got to figure that out.
In my opinion, that's the number one reason why businesses fail. Because an issue happens with a relationship. Family, kids, spouse, whatever it is.
Because if you're in this middle ground, you're not going to be a good dad in her eyes. And 2, you're not going to be a good business owner because you're constantly literally running the business around a relationship that's not working well. So you're literally going to lose on both fronts. You've got to determine which, like, is this a yes and we figure things out, or is this a no and I go focus on the business? Like, trying to do in between things, you're going to keep doing what you've been doing for the past 5 years, and that's building the business around a personal relationship that is all over the place.
Yeah. Okay. So that's the focus now then. Make the decision.
100%. It's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that matters. And for most business owners, this is their issue. They build the business around personal stuff. And then what happens is that when the personal stuff goes south, the business does too.
This is everything. This is why businesses go out of business. This is why people fail. This is why people quit.
Okay, yeah. Any advice on how to think through the decision?
I would just say having the kids is a big deal, right? Because even if you say no to the relationship, that's still going to be something. And again, even if you say no, it's going to affect the business because there's child support. There's now when the kids are with you, there's a lot of things involved. I don't know your all's legal system as much either. So don't think that like, oh, if we don't make the relationship work out, I can just focus on the business. It's not really like that, right? You got 3 kids, and if you have time custody with them or there is child support, it might be just as damaging to the business, right? And this is why personal and business always gets meshed together. And the success of one usually leads to the success of the other and vice versa. And so how I would look at this personally for you is like, is this relationship going to add or subtract from me as a human being, what I want from life, etc.? If the answer to that is yes, we've got to figure out, be on the same page and work together. If the answer to that is no, we need to cut ties. We need to do it amicably based upon us having all the information in front of us. And then we're going to work towards a solution on your end for the business to actually move that forward. Right? And that's stage 2 of life.
You are not different, you're not strange, and you are not weird. And we need to talk about this stuff.
And it's torture because you're strained between, do you go to the company and do I be a good dad and all that other stuff. You just show everything. Just like put it all on the table and then just make a decision, right?
I guess the decision-making thing with the relationship, my problem is I'm very optimistic. So like I can say, we can make this work, but I guess I need to just look at how it has been, not what I think we could make it. Right.
Yeah, like I'm no marriage expert, right? But this would be my approach to her. It'd be like, hey, look, here's all the information. Do you want to make this work? Like, do you want to do what is required for us to be able to make this work, right? And by the way, your tone and how you deliver this is extremely important. This is not a conversation you have after an argument, right? Like this needs to be like, hey, I want to see if we can make this work. Do you want to make this work? Because if she's in the same spot as you, if she's leaning towards no, this is like, hey, let's cut our losses and let's get out of here.
You got to get your spouse on track. You've got to get them on the same page. And that might mean you reduce your personal capacity because you value the relationship. But if that breaks up, you're dead. And the business is dead too.
I would just be honest, like this is me. This is how I kind of roll. Maybe I'm wrong. But like, I would just show all of this. I would literally let her watch this video. I'll send you the Zoom recording raw. I would watch this with her. Honestly, like everything you've said, she's probably thought the same thing, right? And I usually advocate a lot of times for the other side because I don't know, I'm not getting her side of the story, right? Yeah. And trust me, if I talk to her, it'd be a totally different conversation, right? Yeah. Right? And you have to understand that there is 2 sides to every coin, and we as entrepreneurs are very stubborn, we're hard-headed, we don't see their side of the story sometimes. Most bankruptcies caused by what? Breakups, relationships that didn't go the right way. You gotta get on the same page. This will be 110%. If you fast forward in 5 years, whether or not you deal with this is the determining factor where the business is at, 100%.
Yeah.
You know why I'm so passionate about this? You're like, you have a wife. You're right. But I see time and time and time again, the reason why owners have a 1, 2, 3 year step back in their company, or they go out of business is because of that top one right there. They can't figure things out with the people that are most important in their life, and that includes their family, their spouse, and the people that they love. Everything we talked about in the first 20 minutes about the subcontracting model and growth and expansion and all this other stuff simply hinges on if you can figure out now to either say like a clear-cut yes or no on the relationship.
Yeah.
You gotta have some hard conversations about what you want. What is your personal capacity? You might want $1 billion business, but if your spouse doesn't, you're gonna get dragged through all sorts of garbage and going through a divorce and all the hurt feelings and the distractions, and you will waste 5 or 10 years of your life on something that's preventable by just recognizing what your capacity is and then communicating with the spouse. By the way, 50% partner on life.
Yep, no, cool.
That's like the hardest thing ever. Everything else is so easy, like marketing and advertising. This is the hard stuff, right?
I know. Because that's what I was thinking too. I was like, man, I can do all the other stuff. It's like, it's this, you know?
Yeah. But you clear this up like everything else, right? This is a big reason why I've not got married yet. I would never be able to do what I do now with a good conscience or with someone that is nagging me to get home every night. Like I just couldn't do it, right? Now, you've already made that decision. You've had certain commitments. And in my personal opinion, you are now responsible for those, right?
Yeah.
Especially on the kid side.
And living a life where we're constantly having to think about the budget and, oh, I want to get my hair cut. Can we afford to get the haircut? You know, oh, I want to get this nice food. Oh, but we can't afford to get the nice food. You know, it's just not a life that I want to live.
That's a hard conversation. I can only wish you best of luck.
Because I've always felt that I have untapped potential. Like I was given this drive, this just a want to have a big business, the want to help people achieve, you know, better things in life.
Hopefully her watching this with you, like this is what I would do. Watch this whole thing and then at the end just have a conversation.
Yeah.
Right? And just, you got to figure this out. You cannot live in limbo. You can't live another 5 years where you kind of in, kind of out. You're working the business around the personal thing. You're kind of making it work for the kids only, but you just hate the relationship and you're trying to get away from it, but yet you're trying to build the business around it. Like you'll not win in either category.
And I'm willing to sacrifice a year or two not seeing my kids very often to provide that for them, you know, and make sure they have a good life and have the resources necessary to achieve what they want to achieve as well.
You got to choose one or the other. And if you figure out the relationship, either yes or no, the business will probably do better like in 12 months, like immediate.
Yeah. Either way, like that's right. If I stay, we are on the same page, but we have to be on the same page because I can't just stay and then we're still not really on the same page.
100%. You can't stay here. You can't stay here. And she, I almost guarantee you, is thinking the same thing too, Anna. Like, she just hasn't been saying it because you're holding stuff back. She's holding stuff back too. Right? I almost can guarantee you she's thinking about, like, hey, what happens if I did leave him, and how about the kids? And like it just, you gotta talk this through. All right, brother.
Okay.
We'll stay in touch. I know this is like a weird curveball to what we're supposed to be business boot camp, but like that's my recommendation. That's what I'd tell anyone if they're my closest friend.
Even when I think of my life with money, it's always a thought of giving back to people. There's like, yes, I want to live a good life and I want to have all this stuff and whatever, but the most important thing for me is actually helping people out. And like I mentioned, the mission of mine is to help provide opportunities for the average person to get ahead in life. And that's why I love this industry, is because it's so accessible to everyone. You don't have to have a lot of knowledge, you don't have to have a lot of money. You can just get it done, and just as long as you're willing to put your head down and work, you can succeed in this business, and you can create a lifestyle that'll suit well for you and your family. So I want to be the guy to help those people. Welcome to my humble abode. This is the garage that I opted for. Money is a byproduct of everything that I'm going to do. The only part that kind of sucks is the sleeping. Like, I don't really have a good sleeping arrangement. I'm basically just going to sleep in the back of the wagon, or wherever I end up being. Pretty much in the back of the wagon, you know. Sleep in the wagon, shower and work out at the gym. The amount of money you have is directly correlated to the amount of value you provide for the world. And so if I make a lot of other people rich and I increase their life, then I will get what I want as well. But hey, it's good. It's all good. At least I get to sort of work and just, I don't know, try to get out of this mess, basically. So it'll be interesting. See how it goes. So my mind is always like, how can I give stuff back to people, you know? So I know that I'm not going to be a bad person with money. So I just need the money.